Hello, and welcome to the Fill Her Cup podcast, where you leave with your glass fuller than it was when you came. I am your host, Mia Lester, and I'm so excited for episode 4. Thank you for rocking with me for the first 3 episodes. I am truly just grateful for everyone that's been listening, watching, giving feedback. Please, I receive. Keep it coming. So today we're going to discuss a topic that honestly I was like, hopefully it's not too controversial, or hopefully I don't step on any toes, but disclaimer, I'm not offending anybody. I just want you to take what's yours, grain of salt. And then if you do feel a way, or you are like, I feel a little offended, I feel a little personal about this, then maybe there's some things to consider, but know that everything that I say is said with love, said from a genuine, authentic, honest space, and that I never want to offend anyone, okay? And I am not perfect, and half the things I'm going to discuss on this podcast are things I'm working on for myself. So please don't think I'm speaking as though I'm better than anybody else or anything like that. But I'm going to stop apologizing for anything before I even talk. Okay? I'm working on that. This is my space also to speak my mind, my safe space to say what goes on in my head. And if you'd like to listen and receive, you can. All right. So with all of that being said, today's topic is modesty and submission as a woman. Okay? So modesty and submission as a woman in her 20s, living in 2024. Today we are going to talk, which I wanted this to be a conversation with someone else because this actually came up while talking to my best friend last week. And I said this would do really great as a podcast episode with someone on the other end. So I may extend or put a part 2 to this episode because I feel like it will be received much better if you hear me talking about it with somebody else. But I still feel like it is a great discussion to have. And I have notes here. So if you see me looking down at all, I have my notes on the little things that I wanted to touch on. But let me fill you in a little bit on what my bestie and I were talking about. This came up. So honestly, we were speaking about how our lives have changed so much since becoming engaged, getting married, having children. And we didn't have much crazy lives before then, but we definitely had to grieve the life we used to live and step into a life that entailed, like, I just can't do certain things anymore. I just can't hang around certain environments anymore because of what my responsibilities are and what my titles are, and I have SHIT to lose. You feel me? So not that we were out going buck wild, getting crazy before, because I wasn't really a party girl. Sorry, my nails aren't done. If you see my nails, don't watch that. But I wasn't really a party girl, or I was not dating heavily or anything. Like I've said before, I got married at 21. I got pregnant at 21. The streets wasn't really even open to me, and I don't think if it was that I would explore them much, just based on who I am personally. But there are some things that's like, oh wait, like I am not a free agent. Like, I'm not a free agent. Like, dudes are not going to roll up in the DM or anything like that because I make it very clear that I'm off the market. And that is a different life to accept, especially when you are surrounded by friends that are not married or do not have children. We were just having a personal conversation in regard to that and how our lives have changed and how our mindsets have changed. But in that conversation, we started talking about how we always hear from our friends that, like, the dating pool is scary. Like, it's such a scary thing because it's just scary. Everybody's mindset has changed. The idea of chivalry for men has changed. The idea of what modesty is for women has changed. And I mentioned a couple things, and she was like, oh, those are good points. I had actually wished that our conversation was recorded because it was a really good one. And it wasn't judgmental, but it was just coming across like from outside looking in. based on women that are single, because I'm not. From outside looking in, I'm like, I wonder how women are preparing themselves for serious relationships and marriage, because at least all my friends I know, they don't want to be single the rest of their lives. So I just wonder what it was like and what their viewpoint is on topics like modesty and submission, when it comes to dating, when it comes to having fun or just living your life on a day to day. How are you preparing yourself for marriage, for a partner, for a life partner? So I wanted to share some of those with y'all. I said I'm going to make it a podcast episode. Hopefully it's not too touchy. Hopefully it's not something I shouldn't be discussing, because I'm not single and I'm not in the dating pool and I don't know what life like that is like. But if you listen to this episode, I hope it opens up one of y'all to say, hey, Mia, invite me on, because we could do this virtually too, because I want to speak on behalf of my single ladies. So I am opening the floor to you. If I say anything here and you're like, actually, you have the wrong idea about that, like I said, Fill Her Cup podcast is meant to fill your cup, meaning that the information that I present, I want it to be accurate. I want it to be real. I want it to be authentic. So if I say something and you're like, actually, I want to talk to you about that, you are welcomed on. So let me take a look at my notes real quick down here, because what is the first thing I want to touch on in reference to modesty and submission? How about we discuss the definition? The definition of what these two things are, right? So the definition of modesty comes up funny. It comes up as saying the quality of being relatively moderate, limited, or small in amount to rate or level. It also says behavior, manner, or appearance intended to avoid impropriety? How you say that? Or indecency. Let's go with the word indecency. I think the last one, behavior, manner, or appearance intended to avoid indecency, is the most aligned one. The first one with being relatively moderate, limited, or small in amount, rate, or level, I do not align with that at all. I would say I am very modest, and I don't align with being moderate, limited, or small in any amount or form. I honestly think modesty has made me feel at a higher level, made me feel more powerful, and made me feel better about myself. I like the definition of just avoiding indecency or something that is inappropriate. I think I align with that more in reference to my faith, Christianity, and things like that, of how just a woman should carry herself. So I think modesty is sexy, to be honest. This idea of woman in the streets, and inside the house, you don't know what she does with her man. I think that is so attractive. So I'm going to go with that. I don't align with feeling like modesty limits me or makes me feel limited as a woman. That's probably in other terms. So I'm going to go with just the having respect for yourself. Submission. Let's look up what submission means. So submission is the action or fact of accepting to a superior force or to the will or authority of another person. This is a big one. This is a big one that I struggled with. And I honestly feel like as a woman, as a Black woman, if you did not see submission happen in a healthy way, you don't really know how to do it without feeling like your rights are being snatched from you. Like I said, I was married early. I wasn't taught how to be submissive to my husband. My grandma and my grandpa is the married couple that I saw growing up on both ends, my mom's side and my dad's side. I do feel like I saw submission in both of their marriages in reference to my grandma's cooked for the whole house. My grandmothers would have conversations with their husband in regard to things. They would ask permission for things. And that just seemed normal to me. But now that I'm older, now that I've read my word, and now that I've gained in my years of marriage, so while I was in marriage, not before, so showing you that you can learn while you're there. While I've been growing in marriage, I've grown to have a better understanding of what submission is, and now it's all I really want to do. And I want to tell my single ladies who I've had conversations with some of y'all, and you've been like, I'm afraid of marriage. Like, I feel like I'm going to lose myself, lose my freedom, lose everything I can do, my rights of speech and making decisions. And that's not true. That is not true at all. If you are in a healthy relationship and a healthy partnership, you're going to want to submit. What does submission look like? Submission looks like allowing your man to be a leader wholeheartedly, not just where you pick and choose, but being the wife that the Bible says you need to be, being the wife that your husband needs you to be, and serving him. And that is okay. And some of my girls, we like doing that. Naturally, we are women that like to take care of our men, whether it's your boyfriend or your boo thing. In my case, it's your husband. But then when it comes to the scary stuff, when it comes to the bills, making decisions about children, making decisions about where you're going to live, how you want to work, how you want to do things, we go into this space of like, you can't tell me what to do, or don't take away my freedom of what I want to do for myself. And that is when we have the wrong viewpoint on what submission is. Submission is trusting your partner, trusting your man to take care of you, guide, and protect you, and that his decisions are what's best for you and your family. That is not easy. Didn't say it was, especially for my single ladies. If you've been to yourself, like not living in a sense of this life form, marriage, commitment, lifelong commitment for all of your 20s, all of your teenage years, yeah, that's going to be different because you've been calling the shots on your own life for how long? You know, you've been just going as you please, moving as you please. And a man coming into your life, your boyfriend becoming your husband, and it turns into, oh, we can't spend money on that. Oh, we need a joint account. Ooh, did that burn? You know, like, I don't know if anybody's like heard that like joint account, like what? But I remember when I became okay with having a joint account with my husband. I was like, I don't want our money separated. I kind of just find peace here. Or I remember when I became okay with my husband making all the decisions and me just being like, okay, I have really stepped into my soft girl era of I don't want to think too hard. I really don't. I don't want to think too hard. You can figure it out. Tell me where we're going, what we're doing next, and I'm there. And the healthy thing about it is I'm not being controlled because my husband will include me, and this is general to healthy marriages where submission is accepted and handled properly. I can have conversations with my husband where he's like, hey, this is what I think works. This is what I feel like doesn't work. What do you think about it? And I can say what I think about it, but I'm not dictating my man. I'm not dictating him. And where I did that wrong in the beginning was I would just be asking him, what are we going to do? Where are we going to be? What's next? What are you doing? How are you doing this? One, men don't like that. They don't like to be questioned like excessively, especially when they're trying to figure something out. I'm sure women are like that too. If you're trying to figure something out, do you want somebody down your neck every second? Like, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? Now, granted, I was doing that because I was nervous and I was anxious, but when I didn't get answers, I'd go figure it out myself. And while that did help us in a way, externally with the situations that we needed help with, externally, it did not help my marriage. It left no room for my man in his early 20s to learn how to be a leader of a household. You know, like it just never gave him room to do that. And at the time, I thought I was just being this trailblazing woman that could make, you know, show my man that I could figure it all out. And half the time, your man just wants you to sit down and be pretty, sis, and submit. Let him lead. Let him call the shots. So if you are a girly that is struggling, even in your relationship or even in dating, where you appear as hyper independent, meaning you struggle to let a man take care of you, I understand that that could come from many, many, many things. Because my struggle and lack of ability to allow my husband to lead for the first 2 to 3 years of our marriage came from other things. Some from him, and then some from my upbringing that I saw women figure it out all my life, whether they had a husband or not. I saw them be submissive, yes, but also be a boss. So this whole traditional view on marriage and how to show up as a wife, because I would say I'm a traditional wife, which I would describe as, you know, you take care of the kids, you take care of the house. I want to be stay at home, but I want to run my own businesses, but I don't want to work for the rest of my life. I don't want to work a 9 to 5. And has the husband control all the money, all the bills, all, like, I am traditional in that way. I have no yearn or desire to feel fulfilled through paying bills with my husband. That is my preference. Is that wrong if you feel that way? Not at all. I hope that you find a partner and you match with a partner that wants to do 50-50 or 75-25, whatever. But me, that's how it works for me. But I will say, for the first 3 years of my marriage, it was struggling a lot because I was struggling to submit, and I was not aware of the principles of being a wife. That only came to me when I started getting closer to God, reading my words, looking at other wives. So I entered an environment where there were other women who were married, whose lives looked like mine. So I wasn't comparing myself to the wrong pool of people. And I was like, wow, they're so at peace. They're not trying to figure out bills and figure out manly things alongside their man. They are giving input when asked. They are being soft. They are being feminine. Like, the urge to just step into my femininity just grew. And since I've done that, my marriage has been pretty good. Since I fell back a bit and refrained from not being so strong in terms of trying to control things like I'm at the same level of my man, I had to accept I am not. So if you are out there and you have in your head that you are at the same level as your man, you're not. We're not. And that doesn't diminish how strong you are as an individual. That doesn't diminish the kind of woman you are. It doesn't diminish your value. But you are not made to be entirely equal with your husband, with your significant other. It's not meant to go that way. He's meant to take care of you. That is why your father or any man in your life or your mother gives you to your husband, gives you off to that person, because now they are supposed to take care of you. They're supposed to be superior to you. And when I stopped fighting that idea, I became a lot happier. At first, I was not okay with this whole superior thought. I felt like I was being controlled. I felt like, how do I know you're going to figure this out okay? How do I know you're going to do it right? And the idea was just to let him. And it's resulted in me having a lot less headache and stress and anxiety. So that's my views on submission. I feel like it allows us to be more feminine. I feel like it allows you to see your man's strong suits and what he likes to handle. I think men get so happy when you allow them to just be what they are called to be, which are leaders, and allow your man to mess up. And I'm not just talking if you're married or not. Like, the partner that you're with that you feel like is going to be your lifelong partner, or you're learning and trying to see if he will be, allow him to mess up, sis. And I don't mean mess up in a way of disrespecting yourself. Don't worry. But I mean in terms of learning how to be a head of a household. Like, let him choose the wrong electric company for the house and find a new one. Let him figure out how to handle, the savings and things like that. Just watch him work through it, because he also was not obligated to just wake up and know how to do those things, especially if he's a fatherless man, meaning all of this is from scratch. So I encourage you to give your man grace as well. So to my ladies also dating, so this is where me and my bestie was talking, and I was like, I really want to know. So drop in the comments below, or we can have a group conversation about it, or a one-on-one conversation about it. But to my ladies that are dating, okay, we should have high standards always. And you should create your specific list, your top 7. I remember my friend Sapphire told me about this. Your top 7 of what you want in your man, non-negotiable, everything. You should have that. But when you're dating, give grace. I'm not saying like if the man has no job, no ambition, no dreams, no nothing, give him grace. No, stop it. Stop right there. That is not your man. That is not your husband. At least if it is, he ain't ready yet. Okay? But I'm speaking in a reference to you're on a date and you hear that he don't have his 401k at a certain point or whichever, and on your list the man has the 401k, he has everything set up, blah blah blah. If the man is like, oh, I'm just stepping into my career, I'm figuring those things out, then okay, you can go on the second date. You know, like, you can figure it out, fill him out. But I'm talking about, you're on this date, you hear one thing and it's like, he ain't it, he ain't it, that's not it. And also, like, look at a man's mind, look at how his mind works, look at how he treats you. A lot of us say chivalry is dead. I don't think chivalry is dead. I'm gonna get into that. You know, there are good men out there, but give grace. And also, before you start dating, this is a big one, before you start dating, check yourself to see if you're ready for commitment. And if you're ready, if somebody was to get on their knee and ask you to be their wife, are you ready to be a wife? Because I was able to say, once I started learning, that I was not ready. So that is part of why my marriage went through the dang trenches. In the beginning, we were not ready, bro. And that's okay, because we're meant to be and God restored us. But we genuinely were not ready. And I think if I was older, like if we were older and I put my husband and I in this day and age, we're 27, he turns 28 in 2 days, and we started dating, right? I think it would be a lot different, because like we would probably be considering like what he wants in a woman, because now he knows himself more as a man. And I probably would be considering, if I'm ready, where's my mental state? Am I confident? How's my self-esteem? How's my, am I rooted in God's word? What do I believe in? What are my values? I would have had all these answers already. So dating would have definitely looked different. At 21 and 22, like, we weren't thinking about that. So for my ladies who are in their mid to late 20s, I honestly feel so happy for y'all that you've gotten the time to get to know yourself, so that you can ask yourself, am I ready for this? Am I presenting myself as a wife? I think sometimes we go into the dating scene, or we're in our relationship, or we're in our marriages already, and we're looking at him. We're like, what he's not doing and how he's not showing up and how he's falling short. And we're not looking at, am I being modest? Am I being submissive? Am I carrying myself how I want to be treated? Am I acting like a wife? How am I handling the dating process? Am I just jumping to sleep with him? And I'm not putting blame. So please, I'm not placing blame. But we really have to consider these things. If you are like, I want to be married, I want to meet my husband, I'm tired, the streets are scary. How are you going about your dating process? How are you showing up to the first date? I'm sure all of my girlies are showing up like baddies, okay? I know y'all look pretty, y'all dress nice, smell good. I know. You don't got to tell me, I know. But mentally, how are you showing up to the table as well? So that you're able to sit and put this man against your top 7 or your standards or your non-negotiables without any guilt or fault. Are you behaving as you should? And these are things that just genuinely, as women, we have to consider. Am I behaving like a wife? Like I'm checking him to see if he's behaving like my potential husband? I will hope so. But I know sometimes we fall between, this was the next thing that we talked about, is, I can't say we because I'm not in this, but I know sometimes there's a gray area in having fun and living your best life and trying to settle down. I know where our brain goes. I remember my brain going here in my, when I was 20, early 21, Miami, the yams. And it's just like, I just want to have fun. Like, I just want to have fun. We'll think about it tomorrow. That didn't help me. I didn't do well with that. So I cut that really quick. But I know that that's a real thing. Like, we go through this phase of like, I just want to have fun. I really don't care. Like, maybe you do care. I don't know. This is why I wanted this to be a conversation. But you go into this space of, it's not that deep. I'm going to just call it, it's not that deep. I had fun. And I think everybody deserves that season. But if you are having fun, but also wanting to commit and settle down and find your person, it becomes kind of difficult. Because it's like, are we serious or are we not? And so I'm not speaking in reference to dating multiple people. I feel like you should date. If you're dating and you have candidates, you have candidates. But please, sis, don't lay down with every candidate. Don't. Lust fogs the brain. Really date these people for finding out who these people are so that nothing else is tied into your decision making. Make them wait. Hold it. Make them wait. Figure out who they are as people so that with a clear, unclouded mind, you can determine who to eliminate and who to keep and what's really happening, and other emotions don't get tied in. And that's just what I would tell any of my friends. Like, I don't know, maybe at this point you're like, dang, Tamia, like, you're so uptight. I'm not uptight. I think that this is just real. I think that this is what we know is right. I'm saying this off rip. Like, once you have sex, once you lay down, things change, and nobody's going to tell me different. Most people I know, things change. You have now connected with that person on another level. So strictly date without sex and things like that. You could do what you want with your body. I'm just talking about my thoughts. But I think that it rids the whole gray area and blurred lines and all of that, so you can like consciously make your decisions and consciously look at the circumstance and the situation and what's on the table, and that man is making that decision about you because of who you are at the heart and nothing else. Okay, now whether you decide to have, try it out, test it out, all that other stuff, I'm not gonna go deep into that, but I'm talking like very beginning stages, before exclusivity and stuff like that. Like, just wait it out and see who that person really is. Fill them out. If you're on the end of, I'm trying to take this serious, dim down on having fun a little bit. Part of being modest. You can be so sexy by being submissive. Like, I'm telling you, you could tell that man, I made you dinner. I heard you needed new clippers. I bought you some new clippers for your hair. Like little things like that could really turn a man on. You don't have to do the most. You don't have to go that far. Yeah, things like that. Like, show him you think of him. Show him you want to be submissive. Show him there's something to find out at the other end of this once he makes you his wife, because, that's the quality, that's the type of level we on. That's the type of time we on. Make him guess. Make him drool, sis. Like, give him something to wait for. And that's where I was like, wow, it has to do with modesty and like the femininity and power in submission. A lot of women do not think there's power in submission, and there is. There's so much power of submission. I'm going to tell you a secret, girl. Once you start submitting, you start getting what you want, and that's power. That's power to me. That is power to me. It's like a win-win. It's like a cycle. There's a book I read. I'm going to leave it in the caption. But give him respect. Allow him to be a man, and he's going to love on you. And that's mainly women. Yes, we want respect, but ideally we want to feel loved. Men want respect more than they want love. So we have to learn how to carry ourselves. We have to learn how to go about things in a more feminine way, and that'll attract your man. Now, not saying change who you are. I'm not saying if you are strong-willed and strong-minded that you need to rid that. Submission will not take away your identity. Let me emphasize that. Submission will not strip your identity. You don't have to be afraid of that. If you're getting married to the right person, he will allow you to be who you are. You all will learn to work together where you will play your roles without changing entirely who you are as a person at the core. Your person will love you for who you are, and you will be able to act as wife and husband or boyfriend and girlfriend without feeling like I've lost myself. May take an adjustment, may take some changes in your behavior and building new habits, but essentially it should not be making you feel like you're acting or wearing a mask. That is not what I'm talking about. But go ahead and be a lady. Put on something nice. Wear his favorite color. Do your nails how he likes you to do your nails. Do him favors. Don't become a wife. Do that as a girlfriend. Girlfriend level stuff if you ain't married yet. Girlfriend level stuff. You can make him some dinner. You can, take a trip together. You can go try new things together. Date. And if you're trying to abstain from sex and you're dating, and maybe that's, lust and sex, not having sex and stuff like that is hard for you at this time. Yeah, we're raw. We're real here, ladies. Maybe that's something right now that's a challenge for you, which is okay, and that's absolutely normal. I advise dates that don't involve a house. Simply put, dates that don't involve sitting in the car for long periods of time. Dates that don't involve long times in a spa, in a room alone. I don't know, wherever, because, I'm just keep it 100. It can happen anywhere. But what I'm saying is, if you are trying to go about dating in a way where it's not about sex, it's not about lust, it's not about how good, it is about how good you look, but it's not about the physicalities of things, the physical things that make you feel good. You're trying to get to know that person's mind and who they are as a person and build your relationship solely on personality and experiences with one another outside of sex, then I would recommend fun dates, exciting dates, new things that don't involve the house. And that would allow you to refrain from being inappropriate and to be modest and to do all the good things that you want to do as a feminine queen to attract your husband, and know that you only attracted him due to just who you are as a beautiful woman at heart and not just because what you have to offer sensually. Okay? So let me see if there's anything else on my list. And I hope that this is helping or making sense and not coming off offensive. But it's real. Like, if you really understand what a union is, you want to show that person your best self. You want to show that person your best self. And how you go about making your decisions in reference to sex before marriage, you want to have sex before, that is your personal preference. You pray about that. You talk to God about that. I am not speaking on that. But what I will say is, ladies, we have so many things around us. We have the sexy reds, we have the Cardi B's, we have the Meg Thee Stallions that, we have 2 shots of Henny and they make us want to do things different. That's an agenda to get us to step away from, being the beautiful flower girls we are, the beautiful, lovely women that we are, that can have fun, can go and have a drink and be sexy and be all these things just without stepping away from our values and our standards. Okay, is all I'm saying. There is something else here I wanted to talk about. Is chivalry dead, or do you no longer accept it due to fear? So now that we've talked about the things that we can do to maintain our submission or have a better viewpoint on submission, and how modesty can help us a lot, just how we carry ourselves, how we show up, stepping into our soft girl lives, let's talk about how, I know I mentioned briefly before that sometimes we're looking at the man and we're like, what he's not doing and how he's not showing up. And it's true. The numbers of gentlemen out here has heavily decreased. But I also feel like some of the men not doing it is because they feel like now we don't even accept it and we don't require it all the time. When I first started dating my husband, when I dated I don't remember myself being heavy and assertive on like, you need to do this, you need to like open the door or do, which he did naturally. So that's probably why I wasn't too heavy on it. But there are some things where I know I was not openly like expressing that desire for him to be an upstanding gentleman. I don't know if that's due to just our environment and our generation where we're not really talking about that and demanding chivalry, but it's necessary. And I think it's coming back. I think the girls are paying more attention to how much of a gentleman a guy is, and how he goes about treating a lady and making you feel soft and making you feel feminine. But also, how are we receptive to that? What do I mean by that? When we decline the good guy and go for the bad guy that's a hot mess that you want to build on your own, we got to stop doing that. I don't do it anymore. I'm married. You got to stop doing that. You don't need to build a man. He's out there. That man is out there that you don't have to break your back and bust your neck and cry heavy tears and disappoint yourself over and over and over and over again to receive. Unless that man is willing to say you're already with somebody that you've been with for years and you don't want to leave that person. You feel like that person is really your person, but they're struggling to become who you know they can be. Also, don't fall in love with potential. Okay. But also, if you feel like, oh, he's changing, but then he reverts back or whichever, set your boundaries. And if those boundaries can't be met and those standards can't be met, once you openly express them clearly, then that's not your person, baby. It's not your person. I could have said if before it was like, I didn't tell him I wanted this. I didn't tell him I needed this. I didn't tell him I wasn't okay with this. Then he has a right to be like, yo, I ain't know. And then you give him room to try it out, work it out. But if you've been saying over and over and over again, Like, you know, like, you don't make me feel feminine. You don't give me room to step into like the woman I am. I have to do everything by myself. I have to pay everything by myself. I have to take care, like, I'm taking care of you more than you taking care of me. You just don't deserve that, babe. Mm-mm. But we also need to make sure that we are receptive to when a guy does show up and he is super nice and he is super caring. Don't just brush him off as ill. He's kind of ick. You deserve those things. That is what you deserve. You deserve to be treated that way. And it's become abnormal to us. I know, especially my girls from New York. We are so used to those swindlers, girl. Like, we are so used to those hard dudes that just, I don't know what it is. If you're from New York, if you're from Brooklyn, you know what I'm talking about. And my man is from Texas. So when I met him, I said, what are you? Who are you? I ain't never seen nobody like you before. That Southern hospitality, it snatched me right up. Growing up in New York, I think it's universal, honestly. I've learned that. But growing up in New York, we fall for the guys that like really act like they don't, like they want us, but they smooth talkers. And we go for that like game, and something about it feels fun to us. It's not okay. It's not okay. And then we go and we make that a norm. So then when a guy comes in and he's like, oh, let me take you out. Let me take care of you. Oh, you got that. Let me handle it for you. Let me fix your car for you. Let me do this, blah, blah, blah. You're like, nigga, what? You know, like, why you acting like you like me? And we have, stop it, accept it, receive it, roll in it, girl. Roll in that, because that is what it's supposed to be. That is what you deserve. You do not deserve the guy where you're guessing if he wants to be with you or not, and y'all going through this toxic cycle, and y'all like each other, then you don't like each other, then it's hate you, I don't hate you. Let that go. Let that go. And I know why y'all say it's scary, because there are guys that's doing that. You don't have to tell me. There are guys that are appearing that way, and then you get with them and they are the complete opposite. I know. I've heard the Risa Tisa story. I've heard all of it. But truly, all I'm saying is, if a guy wants to treat you right, have fun in that. Asking a guy wanting to shower you with love, not the love bombing, so he's mean to you and then there's a bunch of things that happen that are good and then he's mean to you again. Not that. But a guy that shows up and he's a gentleman and he has his life together, or he, you know, you connect with him. Don't leave him for the mean one. Don't leave him for the questionable one. Your submission, your modesty, the beautiful woman you are, deserves a guy that's going to treat you right, take care of you, make you feel secure. And in order to do that, we have to present ourselves that way. We have to understand what it is to be a wife, understand what it is to, you know, be a woman, an upstanding woman for yourself. It's not even for a man. Don't do it for him. Do it for yourself. You feel so beautiful standing in what you are as a woman and being fully feminine. I promise. I promise. You don't have to fight. You don't have to put up this aggressive stance. You deserve to breathe. You deserve to breathe. It is okay. Once somebody shows you that you can trust them, then release it. If you have no reason to be guards up, walls up, let it down step by step. Take your time. Be intentional about letting your guard down step by step as he continues to show you that you can trust him. And stand on business. Stand on business about your boundaries. You do not have to settle. You do not have to compromise for somebody you just met or anybody in general. If you don't want to compromise anymore, you don't have to. If you know, like, it's time for me to get what I receive, I'm behaving, I've done my praying, I've worked on myself, then you don't have to compromise. At least not in the beginning, at least not in the dating stage. You do not have to. So let's recap. Modesty. Being modest does not mean limiting yourself. Submission does not mean limiting yourself and being small. No, it just means a level of respect for yourself in terms of modesty for yourself, for the woman you are, for how you present yourself. You want to be respected. You want to walk in a room and it's like, who is that woman? Like, who is she? I want to carry myself like she carries herself. I want to look like her, or present and have that aura that she has, right? And then in terms of submission, you just want to respect a man. A lot of us know you want that man that's going to take care of you, that's going to ease your mind and make you feel like you just want to go get your nails done, pick the kids up from soccer, do whatever your vision is of wifehood and creating a family. Whatever your vision is, you want a man that can do that for you. And that takes working on yourself, making sure you are presenting yourself in a way that you would be proud of, that you would want your daughter to show up as, your sister, your cousin, whoever, and do it for you. I say do it for you all the time. Once you take care of yourself and you're thinking of you, everything else, God will present everything else to you. And to close, I want to read some of Proverbs 31. So I'm reading Proverbs 31 in NIV, starting at verse 10, which is the wife of noble character. And I chose this scripture because I feel like as we talk about modesty and submission, the best example we can get is not from social media or from an idol or somebody else that we're looking at all the time. It's from the word. That's the best example you can have of the woman that you should be, not just as a wife, but in general. So I'm going to start reading at verse 10. A wife of noble character who can find. She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night and provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the staff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. The word of God. Ladies, this gives a description of a woman that still has her power. She's still working. She provides for her family in her right. So please do not feel as though submitting to what the purpose of a woman is to herself and to her husband and to her children is the act of letting go of who you are at the core or releasing your power. You are powerful as a woman of God. It's a Proverbs 31 woman. So thank you so much for tuning into episode 4. I know this one was lengthy, but I hope it touches your heart. I hope it filled your cups. And I hope you come back to meet me at the well for episode 5. I love you. Have a blessed week. And be that girl. See you later.